Wilds, do you believe that Tom Brady is actually retired?
I do not. First of all, he hasn't said he's retired. So I do think that the door is slightly open. I think that he'll be retired when he submits his retirement papers to the league office. So here's the thing. I don't think that this is a hot take that Brady is more likely to come back than stay retired. And I understand why people are like, what? Why? That would be so weird. It's not. Because I think people are looking at it, Coach, through 3 superstars and their own personal experiences. The 3 superstars are Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson and Jim Brown, guys who had more in the tank, were healthy, and decided to shut it down. And then personally, people are like, well, you know what? My grandfather retired from the post office, and, that's what people do. When they announce they retire, he never went back and delivered another package after that. That's not what Tom Brady is doing. Tom Brady, you could argue, was the most valuable player this year. Aaron Rodgers will win it, but you can make an argument that he's the MVP. So on this side of the ledger, you got Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, and Jim Brown. On this side of the ledger, I'm going to give you a list of great players who had more in the tank, who announced their retirement and came back. Brett Favre, Michael Jordan twice, Michael Phelps, Mario Lemieux, Reggie White, Randy Moss, Deion Sanders. And I know the argument like, well, they weren't that old. Roger Clemens was 41 years old hanging out in Texas. He said, you know what? Why don't I pitch for the Astros and win the Cy Young and the ERA title? So on this side is 3 guys, and on this side, I just named 10 guys, and I didn't even talk about every boxer who's ever lived. So I think it is more likely that Tom Brady still has the fire that he can still do it and will come back. Will he play 17 games, 20 games in the playoffs? Maybe not. Could I see him coming back in the middle of the season, at the end of the season, when he's like, you know what? This itch, I still have it. That's what made me the best. Yes, I think it's more likely than not that he comes back.
Yeah, Kevin, I tend to agree with you. I could see Tom definitely coming back. And it's one of these situations where he's played football for 30+ years, and he's still playing it at a high level. His body's in great shape, and he's retiring reluctantly. He probably looks at what Tampa Bay has in terms of free agency and how difficult a mountain it would be to climb to get back to where they were. And this is a good time to step away. He's got a lot of pressure, it seems like, from home to step away as well. But if he continues to take care of himself the same way, which it looks like he will, and you get into the season, and then late in the season especially, somebody goes down and they need Tom, I could see Tom considering it, especially if it's a situation where it's a system he knows. I could see him going back to New England if they were late into the season.
Wow.
Well, this is what I'm saying is late into the season, Mac Jones gets hurt. It's the same offensive system. He can step in. I mean, there's another great scene for your movie. Maybe it's in Las Vegas with Josh McDaniels. If they push to a playoff run, we saw Derek Carr get hurt, late in the season one year, and they didn't have any good answers. But he's going to watch a lot of bad quarterback play next year and realize he's better than a bunch of those guys who are playing, and he's going to be rested. And who knows? He can come back out and do something that nobody else has done, is be a substitute late ad Super Bowl winner.
I would love for you two to be right. I think it'd be phenomenal. Obviously, I'm a journalist. Nothing better than a great story. And that would be dramatic in so many ways. I would assume he wouldn't go to New England, and here's why. Because I don't think they're going to have weapons. Like, if he were to come back and went anywhere, I would believe he's going somewhere with great receiving weapons, and I don't think New England will have that. But if he went to a San Francisco, say Trey Lance doesn't play well next year, and he goes to San Francisco, I'd love to see that, and that'd be great. But here's my problem. And while his age, he'll be 46 at the start of not this upcoming season, but the following season. And Wild, you mentioned Roger Clemens coming back at, I think, 41. Well, in baseball, it had been done. Like Nolan Ryan pitched till he was like 46. Okay, so that was old at 41, but it wasn't unprecedented. Brady would be doing something. No one has done what he's done at this late stage of their career at such a high level. And, Coach, I want to hear from Coach. I just want to ask you this, Coach. And I get it. He's defied logic so far. He's beat Father Time to some degree. But at 46 years of age, with 1 year away from football, for Gronk a year away, get your body right, it felt good. He was 30 years old. But I feel like at 46, the speed of the game, if you threw yourself back into it, taking hits would be jarring at that age. Am I tripping on that, or do you see no difference between coming back at 46 versus coming back at 36?
No, you're not wrong at all. But all Tom does is defy what's been done before. He keeps setting new thresholds for what's attainable and achievable. And I thought about San Francisco as well, and that would be a great story, his childhood team. But for him to be most effective, if he were to go back during the season, he needs to go to a system that he knows. And there's not that many systems where he can just plug and play. But if it was a system that he could plug and play, he could still be effective. He'll be a lot more effective than whoever the team's number 2 is, if it's that situation.
Exactly.
And how athletic does he have to be? He's a pocket passer. It's not like he's running around to get first downs.
That's all true. That's true. It's also true that he wasn't forced to retire. He just chose to retire. And Wildes did tell one lie. And the lie Wildes told was, I'll believe it when he files his retirement papers. Kevin Wildes will never believe it.
Pull those right
That
back.
is a total lie. And just like Wildes told us in a vulnerable moment, he has a sign behind his camera that says, speak slower, be kind. And I, in an equally vulnerable moment, said, my sign says fancy words, mock Wildes. This is pitiable, Kevin Wildes. This is, let me tell you something about because, buddy, this is, I understand you've got Brady, you've got Jordan, but I'm now going to remind the audience because they didn't know you at the time. Jordan, at his Hall of Fame speech, alluded to wanting to come back. And Kevin Wildes didn't have this television show, but he had half-baked ideas, and he's out there being like, you know what? I think Jordan give you 15 a night. I think he could do it. Like Wildes is a child at heart and doesn't want to say goodbye. And here is the other part of it. Because Tom Brady, the fact that all of his Patriots-related responses have been thumbed out in Instagram stories in responses to statements made on letterhead, flowery language, is what is making this harder for Wildes to swallow. Wildes is setting aside logic, what he knows is probably true, because he's like, Tom wouldn't ghost us like that. He wouldn't. It's because he's coming back. He would never end the career leaving us like that without saying anything. That's what's happening here.
Wildes.
And we're watching it play out in real time, buddy.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.